everyone, my name is Morgan Callwood. I'm the Operations Coordinator for the Cathedral Choral Society, and I'm here today to take you on a fun, super awesome, engaging, and super secret behind-the-scenes tour of Washington National Cathedral. All right, let's get started. So welcome to Washington National Cathedral, the 6th largest cathedral in the world. It was started in 1907 and finished in 1990. Right now we're standing in the nave. One of the reasons they say it's called the nave is because it's shaped like an upside down ship. So fun fact, if you were to lay down the Washington Monument all the way down the nave, it would actually only stick out the front door by about 20 feet. Another fun fact is that there are 215 stained glass windows in the cathedral, and we're coming up on what I think is probably the coolest stained glass window. It's this one. So it's called the NASA Space Window, and you'll see why. It commemorates the Apollo 11 space mission where the US astronauts walked on the moon, and when they came back down, they brought a piece of space rock and donated it to the National Cathedral, which I don't know if you can see it, it's almost the top panel right in the middle. There's a piece of space rock. And this is Woodrow Wilson's grave. So on Monday nights from 7:30 to 10 is when CCS rehearses, and it's the job of the operations coordinator, that's me, to clean up after the choir's done. So basically at 10:30, the cathedral's empty except for me, and there's also a security guard, but he's like outside and I don't really see him. So it's basically me, the ghost of Woodrow Wilson, and God. And so if you look that way, usually the doors to the front, the wooden doors are open and it's just the glass, so you can completely see outside. So my thing's always like, if the zombie apocalypse were to happen right now, and I just turned and I saw that, and like, what if the zombies came and started banging on the door? Or even worse, what if humans that were being chased by zombies came and started banging on the door, begging me to let them in? It would be over for me. That's actually a topic of conversation we have a lot with staff, is that this would actually be a really good place to bunker. But alone, it doesn't seem feasible to me. So I've stopped in the military chapel, which was created to commemorate the US troops, which is fitting because, as you might know, CCS is dropping an album of Kastalski's Requiem.
Kastalski Requiem for Fallen Brothers, scheduled for release on August 28th, 2020. Available for physical purchase on Amazon Music and Archive Music. Available digitally on Spotify and Apple Music. Having listened to it myself, I can say it does slap.
And Kastalski wrote that Requiem to commemorate the troops of World War I. So this is the Great Choir, and this is where CCS sometimes gathers to warm up, sometimes puts down their stuff, sometimes walks through to get on stage. But I wanted to point out the super awesome organ. It has about 10,000 pipes. It's giant. So it is true that the floors are heated during the winter. I can't confirm nor deny that I know that from personal experience. I also won't say I haven't walked around barefoot at 11 p.m., but I won't say that I have either. So this is the North Rose window up here. This is what CCS's logo is based off of. And then if we scoot around here, we can see the door of the slipe, We're not gonna go in there right now, but the Slipe is where we house guest artists and soloists during our performances, and it's also where Stephen Fox, our artistic director, hangs out when he's not conducting. This is Perry Auditorium. This is where we have a lot of our Monday night rehearsals. So now we're in the bell tower. And this is the carillon. A carillon is just a set of bells, basically. There are 53 bells in this carillon, and it's the third heaviest one in the world. This is the carillon you hear playing when you come into our Joy of Christmas concerts. Our good friend Ed Nasser plays them, and that's Ed Nasser's gnome. So here's the view we have from the 7th floor. We can see the Capitol building over there on the left. Washington Monument, Kensen, miss her. Over there somewhere is Georgetown, play a saxo or whatever. So the first place I want to show you guys, I call it the acoustics room. It's actually the visitors lounge because the store is right around the corner, but I call it the acoustics room because it has the best acoustics. So I would recommend, if you're walking through, I would sing a little something. Not too loud though, because the next room is a quiet room. This is probably my favorite chapel. It's called Resurrection Chapel. And it's my favorite because, as you can see, we have Black Jesus. So now we're in Bethlehem Chapel. This is where CCS warms up, leaves their stuff, hangs out before and after concerts. Actually, the foundation stone of the cathedral was laid right there under the altar. This is our vocal score library. It's where we keep all of our vocal scores. Excuse the mess, we're kind of going through a little organization period right now. I'm going through it, it's me. So here we are in CCS's office in all its glory. I wish I had more to say about this space. Here's my meme wall. Here's the possum side of my meme wall. There's some raccoons too. Honestly, if you're to give to CCS for no other reason, please do it so I can have just a smidgen, just an ounce of natural light. We do have a ghost. Her name is Catherine. Thanks so much for coming on this journey with us. I hope it was as fun for you to watch as it was for us to create. There's so much about the Cathedral I didn't tell you guys, so make sure to check out their website, cathedral.org, if you want to see more about them. Check out CCS's website if you want to hear more about us. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Hope to see you once outside is open again.
Good evening. Stephen, are you there?
Hey, oh look at that! I'm almost on time. 6:05, 6:06.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Thank you. You know, I have to tell you, I am finding it a lot easier to be punctual for these Zoom meetings and online meetings than in person.
We're proud of that. I'm very happy for that fact. I'm happy you're here tonight. You know, I promised my wife Kellyanne that she'd get to go to a fancy gala this year, and here we are. Although it's the first time I've put on a suit and tie in about 6 months. You know, in a way, it's the perfect gala because you and I have to get dressed up, but no one else does.
Yeah, well, actually, my wife is on the other side of the room, and she's telling me that we're actually live on YouTube and that people are watching us. So, do you think we should get started?
We should probably get started.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the Cathedral Choral Society Virtual Gala and Album Launch Party. My name is Christopher Eanes, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cathedral Choral Society, and I'll be your MC tonight.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Fox. I'm Music Director of Cathedral Choral Society. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to our first online gala and the celebration of our new recording, Kastalski Requiem for Fallen Brothers, which will be released tomorrow, Friday. So we're also glad that you can be with us for this really special evening. I'd like to start off by mentioning that the coronavirus pandemic has just been a tremendous challenge for all of us. And in many ways, it nearly brought the performing arts to a standstill last spring. But the pandemic has also served as a reminder of how special it is to come together and to share choral music with one another, particularly in such an awe-inspiring place as Washington National Cathedral. We know that when we have the chance to come together again, that will appreciate it even more than before and will have a greater perspective. This period of time has also brought to the forefront, once again, issues of social justice that we as artists wish to respond to.
This year at CCS, we're going to continue to make music, just not in the usual way. We're learning a lot of new skills like how to produce a live broadcast, and we're going to be putting them to use, finding new ways to engage with our community of music lovers all over the world. But we're also taking the opportunity to spend this time doing a lot of reflecting on our mission, our vision for the future, and how we can create a more inclusive and, frankly, equitable space. We believe that choral music is for everyone, and we're going to work hard to break down the barriers to access that so many encounter. We've also been putting previously underrepresented and silenced voices at the forefront of our programming. And we're in the process of building a bold new educational program that will benefit young people throughout the region and beyond. So while we discover new channels through which to share our art, we'll also be embarking on collaborations with friends far and wide, and we'll be announcing the first of those a little later tonight.
And as we see this evening, we're beginning a long-term initiative to further build Cathedral Choral Society's discography with new recordings of important repertoire performed with world-class artists. This evening, we celebrate the release of our new recording, Kastalski's Requiem, which we performed and recorded nearly 2 years ago to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the armistice to World War I. We recorded this premiere disc with the Kansas City Chorale, the St. Tikhon Choir, the Clarion Choir, and the Orchestra of St. Luke's, all under the baton of Leonard Slatkin. I'd like to say a special thank you to Maestro Slatkin, who is joining us this evening as our honorary chair, and I'd like to congratulate all of the artists who performed on this recording, the Cathedral Choral Society staff, the producers and engineers from Sound Mirror, and our record label, Naxos, for believing in this recording from the very beginning.
Tonight, we have a lot to celebrate, but mostly we're celebrating all of you. Whether you've been a longtime supporter or singer or are tuning in for the very first time, you're showing us that music and the communities that we build through the arts are just as important, if not more so, during COVID times. Given that, we have a lot of work to do in the next hour to raise the funds that will allow us to keep creating music and to keep building experiences that serve to bring our community closer together. We have people joining tonight from all over the US. We see you, Wisconsin, New York, Arizona, California, but you're all part of a close-knit community that knows the value and power of music to bring us together. So given the unique moment in history in which we find ourselves, we wanted to take a moment to look back as well as forward. So please enjoy this next segment.
In the spring of 1942, members of the newly formed Cathedral Choral Society, under the direction of Paul Calloway, gathered for a performance of Verdi's Requiem as the nation grappled with the horrors of a world at war. That concert was an auspicious beginning for a choir that has for nearly 80 years served as a sanctuary for those who seek solace, reflection, and beauty in the power of choral music. Over many decades, the Cathedral Choral Society has sung in times of celebration and in times of strife. We have cried through the music of Bach and cheered through the music of Brubeck, and we have never given up on the idea that joining together in song creates a stronger community. Never before, however, have our voices been silenced so suddenly. Never before have we been unable to enjoy the magic of a shared song in the warm glow of the National Cathedral. This year, we will reach our audiences through new digital platforms. While there is silence in the cathedral, we will be working hard to provide educational experiences for the many students who find themselves without their own choral communities. And we will be crafting a bold new vision for the future, working to ensure that all people feel welcomed and invited to experience the awesome power of music with us in Washington National Cathedral. We continue forward in the belief that our greatest asset isn't the notes on the page, but the human connections we create through the sharing of extraordinary experiences. When we are able to come together once again, it is our promise to you that you will hear our voices clearly ringing in an exciting new chapter for the Cathedral Choral Society.
Hello, and welcome to the virtual gala of the Cathedral Choral Society. My name is Walter Doggett, President of the Board of Trustees for CCS. We have a very exciting evening planned tonight just for you, one full of special guests and beautiful music. We are beginning our 79th season at CCS this year. That would not have been possible without the loyal support of our dedicated subscribers and donors such as yourself. Without further delay, let's begin the party, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Walter. I'd like to introduce you now to my colleague, Gabriela Calderon, CCS's Development Associate. She's going to be keeping us updated on our fundraising goals tonight, and we have a lot to be proud of already. So, Gabriela, what are we raising money for tonight?
Of course, Chris. We're raising money to develop content for the educational partners in the different school districts. And we're also raising money to produce a new series that you can enjoy free of charge all year long.
That's great. And how are we doing so far?
Well, between our silent auction and the event side, we have raised $23,911 so far.
That is incredible. It's so incredible that even at the beginning of our gala, we're already so close to our goal. So actually, I have to say, we're going to stretch it a bit. We'd really like to break the $30,000 mark tonight, which will allow us to do things like put more guest teachers on air for our educational programs. So Gabriela, how can our amazing viewers support our campaign?
There's plenty of ways they can start supporting us. You can text CCS Gala with the amount of your pledge as well as your full name to 91999, or visit our Gala and auction page for more ways to give. The links are somewhere in the chat.
All right, 91999. So CCS Gala, $10,000, Christopher Eanes. I'm going to try that during the next segment. So if you sang in high school, you know what that community means to you. Right now, kids are struggling to find that community via digital learning. I know my kids are. And teachers are having to develop whole new curricula. We aim to help our teachers by providing experiences for their students to engage and learn. Our Director of Artistic Operations, Anna Lipowitz, will tell you a bit more, and you're going to hear from the more than 300 students that attended last year's High School Choir Festival. Anna.
Hello, my name is Anna Lipowitz, and I'm the Director of Artistic Operations at Cathedral Choral Society. Each year, Cathedral Choral Society presents an annual high school choir festival, which brings together students from public, private, and charter schools, as well as independent choirs throughout Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia for a day of music making and camaraderie. In January, we welcomed over 300 students from over 13 different schools to Washington National Cathedral for our 15th annual high school choir festival. Students participated in combined rehearsals, sectionals, a workshop led by soprano Laura Choi Stewart, and a group dinner. The festival concluded with an evening performance open to the public, where each choir performed a piece on its own, as well as 3 combined pieces, one with student orchestra. Cathedral Choral Society strives to inspire and support singing in schools. We do this not only through the festival, but also with in-school rehearsals and workshops led by both Maestro Stephen Fox and our teaching artist, Dr. Mariana Mihai Zoter. We are incredibly grateful for these amazing music teachers who are inspiring and creating the next generation of artists and arts appreciators, and we are excited to be a part of this process. We would like to share a video from this year's High School Choir Festival with all of you. Please enjoy this performance of Thomas Dorsey's Precious Lord, featuring our high school partners, conducted by Maestro Stephen Fox.
Gabriella, I got to tell you, there's nothing quite so magical as singing in high school choir. I bet those students are going to miss that experience like crazy. Okay, so Gabriella, how is our campaign going? Is that thermometer all the way to the top yet?
So far, so great, Chris. We're actually at $25,838, and the number keeps rising. Thank you so much for all your wonderful donations and to all of our auction winners.
Yeah, so let's talk about this auction. I've been watching it for the past week, and it's going absolutely bonkers. There's some wonderful experiences in there.
There really are. The Lakeside Retreat has been so popular that our wonderful donors, Lolly and Jim Mixter, have decided to donate a second weekend in their beautiful Lakeside home. So make sure to check it out.
Wait. Sorry, did you say there was a number we could text to where we could give?
You got it, Stephen. What is it?
I've got my phone. Tell me again.
Sure thing. It is 91999.
Great.
Awesome. All right, we're going to highlight a couple of auction items right now that were actually offered by members of our community. Our community is so dedicated in giving. And that includes our own Gabriela Calderon and Chef Josh Hermias.
As cliche as it sounds, I've always been and had a fascination with arts from a very young age. One of my earliest memories is actually doing a couple of questionable drawings and presenting them to my parents after I saw a commercial for a Picasso exhibit. I've always been attracted to very sharp, very jarring lines when it comes to artwork itself. And it just fascinated me. I definitely enjoy mixed media. Particularly, I enjoy charcoal and mixing it with either some type of medium, water, even gesso. So I tend to lean more towards mixed media. So these little sketches are just ink on paper. They're more illustrative work rather than the traditional medium I've used, and they are sketches of the National Cathedral. Again, tying CCS into where we're housed. It's a beautiful building, so just became fascinated with the architecture of the American Gothic, and not only that, but the flowers in each of these sketches are flowers that you'll find in the cathedral grounds.
I've been cooking my whole life. I'm always interested in it, and the stock answer I always give is that my mom was a terrible cook. And so if I was going to eat something good in my home growing up, I was going to make it. So it was kind of by need I learned to cook. Kind of bounced around from kitchen to kitchen, and then started working at Minibar about 7 years ago from now. And I worked at Minibar for 5 years, starting as an unpaid intern, a stage, and then kind of worked my way up until I became chef, and I was chef for about 3 years at Minibar. There is like a feeling of before the show, and then there's a feeling of like the house is opening and people are coming in, and then it goes, right? And it goes and it can't stop, right? It ends when it ends, and if you did good, you feel good. If you did terribly, you feel terrible. Guests hardly ever notice, just like the audience hardly ever notices, but you know personally. The next year is going to be very tough, and there's going to be casualties in that. Yeah, people are struggling, and I see it in the arts as well. Right? Whereas restaurants are being able to do like takeout and delivery and patio stuff, music hasn't been able to catch up. And so I've been redirecting a lot of people ask like, how can I help? And obviously I say support your local restaurants, but I also remind them of like this other world of the arts. And it's great. Chris did not tell me to say this. This is like completely honest and what I've been saying to people and trying to do. I think it would be great if whoever is the winner of this auction tells me what they want to learn, and I'll figure out a way to work in in their genre of choice. But we can do something as simple as how to make pasta, which I think is really rewarding during this time, and it works during COVID, and that's what people want to eat during COVID. Now I have this break, I'm gonna go find a choir, and I found you guys. It's a great thing to have left the kitchen and being able to pick up music for a little bit, which is great.
So Chris, my mom was so fascinated by Josh's classes that I was going to surprise her with them and get her one that was going to count for her Christmas and her birthday gift. But I actually got beaten to the punch twice in a row. That was fun.
Well, I also got beaten to the punch to bid on your sketches. So both of these items have sold, but we're going to have opportunities for you to partake in them a little bit later. Josh's classes were apparently the hot items tonight, but he's got a project up his sleeve that I think you should know about. It's a restaurant that he's developing for when COVID is over that actually combines food and music in a really beautiful and unique way. He's calling it Parsifal, so keep your eye out. And thank you, Josh and Gabby, for all of these beautiful items.
Yes, thank you indeed. Very, very wonderful items. And if I may, I'd like to move us on to the next segment of the evening. We will now have a virtual performance by our assistant conductor and pianist, Joy Schreier, who will be joined by soprano Colleen Daly. They'll be performing from Joy's home. So Joy, over to you.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me here in my home. I am Joy Schreier, the assistant conductor and pianist of the Cathedral Choral Society, and I'm joined here by my dear friend, soprano Colleen Daly. Colleen will be no stranger to our audiences at CCS. She has soloed with us a number of times since even before I was with the organization. You will have heard her on our Brahms Requiem, Dvorak Te Deum, Mozart, and the list goes on. But she's here tonight to sing a piece for you written by Tchaikovsky, who was Kastalski's teacher.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. As many of you know, COVID has devastated the performing arts industry. So many performers are completely out of work and without opportunities to make art of any kind. So I'm thrilled to be able to have this opportunity to make live music tonight with one of my very favorite musicians and for one of my very favorite artistic institutions, the Cathedral Choral Society. I hope that you enjoy this excerpt from Eugene Onegin. This is an excerpt of the letter scene, Tatiana's letter scene, and it's one of my very favorite pieces to sing. So enjoy.
бит, судьбу мою отныне я тебе вручаю. Перед тобою, с ложью твоей защиты умоляю, умоляю. Гибнут я должна, я жду тебя, этим словом я тебе сердце живи, еще даже не перервы, увы, заслуженным укором.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Colleen. It was incredible. I feel so lucky to work with an organization surrounded by such beautifully talented people. I'm really looking forward to hearing live music again. Man. So Gabriella, let's check in on our auction and fundraising initiatives right now.
Sure thing. And Chris, we're doing absolutely amazing. Your new goal has been blown out of the water, surpassed. They passed the finish line. It's well in the distance. In these short few minutes, we have raised over $32,000, and the number keeps rising.
That is absolutely incredible. Thank you to all of you. I see all of your names going by there. Pat Hevner, Margot Young, Jenna Rujev. Thank you guys so much for supporting everything that we're doing. So since Gabriella's sketch is already sold, I did want to tell you that she's offered a numbered print of a watercolor to anyone giving more than $2,500 tonight all the way through the end of our fall campaign. And for those who are giving $1,000 or more, you'll get to enjoy a happy hour with none other than Maestro Stephen Fox. So a few more incentives for you, and it doesn't have to be tonight. It can be throughout our entire fall campaign, although we would love to see it tonight. So $2,500 for the watercolor print and $1,000 for happy hour.
You know, Chris, that's all fine and well, but you do realize I work for a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, I know. All right. So listen, if you don't have $1,000 or $2,500 to give tonight, that's perfectly fine. In fact, donations of all sizes are not just welcome, but actually really needed in order to get us to our goal and apparently well beyond it. And we're doing a raffle. So for anyone who gives a gift of any size at all, you're going to be entered in a drawing tonight to receive a CD of the Kastalski Requiem signed by none other than the Maestri, Leonard Slatkin, and Stephen Fox. So a collector's item to be sure, and we'll be giving this to 5 lucky winners at the end of the show tonight.
You know, speaking of Maestro Slatkin and the CD release, let's turn things over to Stephen Fox and our honorary chair for the evening, Maestro Leonard Slatkin. Stephen?
Thank you, Gabriella and Chris. Just about 4 years ago, the scholar of Russian sacred music and editor of Muzika Ruska publications, Vlad Morrison, brought to my attention a work by Alexander Kastalski, the student of Tchaikovsky's, who became one of the most important composers of Russian choral music at the turn of the century. Kastalski was the leader of a new school of Russian choral singing called the Moscow Synodal School. And he was so revered in the field of choral music that composers such as Rachmaninoff would send him early drafts of their choral works for his comments. When the First World War broke out in 1914, Kastalski was deeply troubled by the loss of life, not only in Russia, but around the world. He began composing a large-scale requiem that would pay tribute to those who had died in the war. He wanted to represent the Allied nations by having the music sung in different languages and with melodies that represented the different nations. The result was an epic work in 17 movements, written in Italian, French, English, Latin, Russian, and Church Slavonic. It includes instrumental movements that represent Japan and India. There is even an American movement that juxtaposes two great American hymns, Rock of Ages and Hark, Hark, My Soul. As we all listen to this music, we remember the First World War and how a small spark in Europe led to worldwide conflagration. But we also can't help but think of the many people in this country and all over the world who have lost their lives in the current pandemic. Personally, I find that this work shows us the beauty that can be found even in the most difficult of times. Here is a segment from the live performance of the work we gave on October 21st, 2018 in Washington National Cathedral. This is the performance from which we made the world premiere recording of the piece that will be released tomorrow. The performance features the Cathedral Choral Society, Kansas City Chorale, the Clarion Choir, St. Tikhon's Choir, and the Orchestra of St. Luke's, with soloists Anna Dennis and Joseph Boutel, all under the baton of Maestro Leonard Slatkin. I am joined now by the conductor of the performance you just saw and of the recording of Kastalski's Requiem, Leonard Slatkin. Leonard Slatkin is one of the most celebrated conductors in the world. He is beloved to Washington audiences, having served as music director of the National Symphony Orchestra from 1996 to 2008. He's also served as music director of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, the National Orchestra of Lyon in France, and the BBC Symphony Orchestra in London. We're so honored that he joined us as the conductor for the Kastalski project, and also that he could be with us this evening as our honorary chair. I would just like to note that we will have a little bit of time for questions at the end of this interview, so please send us your questions for Maestro Slatkin via the function on YouTube and Facebook. Welcome, Maestro Slatkin.
And good evening to you, Maestro.
So great to have you with us. And before we delve into Kastalski's Requiem, I wanted to ask you about some of your memories in Washington. You were director of music for the National Symphony Orchestra for so many years. And I wonder if you have any particular memorable moments from your time in Washington, D.C., musical or otherwise.
Well, there were so many. It was 12 years that were extraordinary, getting to meet so many people, both from the diplomatic corps, the political world, but mostly the ones who were concerned with the arts. Washington's a remarkable place. Also, the treasure trove of choral organizations is astonishing. I can't think of another city really that has such monumental forces to draw from all over the area. There was a Mahler 8 we did, which actually combined many of those forces, and that was a significant achievement. When we had a performance of the Pianet Children's Crusade, that was another extraordinary moment, creating all kinds of festivals. And in particular, I think for me, it was an emphasis on American music, which was to be expected, certainly, but we were able to draw on so many inspirations. I had a ball for those 12 years. It was great fun, and I hope I was able to leave something of interest for people.
Oh, definitely. And J. Riley Lewis was Cathedral Choral Society's music director for more than 3 decades. And you knew Riley. I thought if you could tell us a little bit about your friendship with him. I believe you met at Juilliard, if I'm not mistaken, and I know you also did some collaborations with Cathedral Choral when it was under his direction.
That's correct. We met at Juilliard. We were both students at the time. And then when I came to Washington, he would come to me asking for advice about certain pieces of music, techniques, and I came to him as well. I remember an extraordinary session working on the B minor Mass of Bach. And although I wasn't planning to conduct it, it was a work I needed to know more about, having done it a couple times in the past. But we also collaborated as performers together. Particularly, I remember a stunning rendition of Barber's Toccata Festiva, where Riley played the organ in this astonishing piece. And we did it in the cathedral, which was important because the premiere of the work was given by Paul Calloway. He was a remarkable person, sadly left us too soon, but those memories will linger forever.
That's really great. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, on to the Kastalski recording. How did you first learn about Kastalski's Requiem, and what drew you to participate in the project? And I think for our viewers, it might be interesting to hear what goes into the resurrection of a piece that's been lost or neglected for so many years.
Those are 2 very important questions. For me, the idea of the work actually stemmed from the producer of the recording, Blatten Alspa, who had been my producer for almost all the discs I'd made in Detroit. He was remarkable to work with. I just love him. And he told me about the composer and the piece. I'd never heard of Kastalski. I didn't know why. I looked him up, found some information that actually paired him with my granduncle, who was a distinguished musician in Russia at the turn of the century, named Modest Altschuler. They would have known each other quite well. Granduncle arrived in the States at the turn of the century, but was not a choral conductor. Kastalski, as it turns out, was primarily dealing with the choral works. So Blatten brought it to my attention. I got a copy of the score such as it was, and looked up the history of the piece, and I became intrigued. Certainly, there was no other work that was like it. It was a war requiem before there was a war requiem. Even though other composers had tried to commemorate soldiers and others who lost their lives during that war, none took it to the extent that Kastalski did by incorporating 17 of the Allied nations. Blanton put me together with various folks, including you. We somehow managed to throw it all together with disparate groups from different parts of the country. The amazing thing was how it all came together as quickly as it did, at least for me. We really only did it in 2 days. Is that right? I think it was just 2 days of putting it all together.
Yeah, I think the choirs got together maybe a couple of days before that, but for the very first time, and that's something I wanted to ask you as well. I mean, what was it like being at the helm of all of these different groups? I mean, 4 different choruses, an orchestra, most of whom had never actually worked together. But I mean, I sort of remember that first rehearsal when everybody came together, and it did click, didn't it? That first choral rehearsal.
I think it probably clicks because the work is unknown. If we'd had to do, say, a Verdi Requiem or Berlioz, whatever it would happen to be, that would be a little complicated because each group would have its own set of performing traditions. Here, there were none, other than Russian colleagues who brought obviously a sense of authenticity and probably helped us with the language a lot. One other thing has to be said. Kastalski wasn't the best orchestrator in the world. It wasn't his strength, although there were a lot of great ideas and wonderful things. But as we went along through the rehearsals, we would make some adjustments. We would change a texture here, take a few notes out, put others in. There fortunately were not too many wrong notes that we had to deal with, but there were a few. And it was a kind of, as any project like this is, you are dealing with something unknown. It even varies wildly from the single recording that exists of an earlier version. And if I remember right, there are several versions of this piece as well. But this was the ultimate statement. I found it a very moving experience. It doesn't break a lot of new ground musically, but the simple idea of all these musical styles that float in and out, plus the use of 6 different languages, was remarkable. And I love this. One other thing that was wonderful for the performance for me, it was the last public event that would be attended by the Librarian of Congress, James Billington, a Russian scholar. And the fact that he came and I was able to speak with him, that to me was very moving. But also to see so many members of the Russian clergy who came. It was a remarkable experience. All the seats were full. There was a feeling of occasion. You don't get that so often these days. Even a Mahler 8, which at one time was a rarity, now is done on a regular basis. I hope, what people don't know, maybe even the choruses don't know, there were plans to take the performance and do it in a couple other cities, including in New York, possibly at the United Nations. Those never came to fruition, but at least we have this recorded version, taken, as you mentioned, from the concerts. There's very little in the way of patching. It's almost exclusively from the concert itself. We try to eliminate as much audience noise, so not too much coughing on this one. I think it's one of the highlights of what's been a very long recording career for me. I truly loved doing this project.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. And yes, have you had a chance to listen through to the final product, and what are your impressions from how it turned out finally?
I think as performers, it's always difficult, and you need that idea of being able to step back from your participation and try to listen to it just as somebody approaching this work for the first time. I think it holds up very well. It's odd to have 17 movements, most of which are short. I think the longest movement's about 7 minutes, 8 minutes maybe at the most. But there is a flow to it that really works. What I do feel is that we captured the variety of the styles and sounds that the composer intended, that there is a real feeling of understanding the Russian choral tradition that exists. This is
Yes.
passed on from so many composers, perhaps best exemplified by the Rachmaninoff Vespers. But you can feel where a composer like Rachmaninoff would have been heavily influenced by not only what Kastalski had to teach him, but what he had to offer as a composer of choral music. There's no question that Rachmaninoff is highly influenced, as were so many others. And this was the place of heritage for both sides of my family. So I felt a little connected to the grandparents' homeland.
Yes, is that something that you recently discovered, that connection that your family has with Kastalski?
Well, that, as I mentioned, it goes back to my great uncle, Modest Altschuler. Even though I've had very little connection with Russian church music, it's always somehow reached me. There was a trip I made in 1976 to the then Soviet Union, and I had to bargain when I was in Kiev to be allowed to go to listen to one of the Russian choirs there, which had become famous for its particularly rich and resonant sound. What I wanted to do was to be allowed to go to a temple in Russia to see what it was like as a person of the Jewish faith. And we had the bargain. I'm not going to the temple unless you let me go to the church. It was a very strange experience. But this connection is really something I feel very strongly. And now the trips I make to Russia now to conduct always try to include some visit to a church to hear that glorious sound that they produce.
That's great. I'd like to open it up to questions now. We do have a few from our audience. So the first one, if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture about the current situation of classical music now, given the pandemic. Question one, Maestro Slatkin, how do you think classical music will be different 5 years from now in a post-COVID world, or in a world in which there's at least a working vaccine?
Well, I think there's a very big change ahead of us. Not necessarily all positive, but a change nonetheless. As you mentioned at the top of this particular gala, we are all experiencing very, very difficult times. We saw today, for example, that several members of the Philadelphia Orchestra, for example, have retired. Maybe they retired a little early, and I think you're going to see more people step away from music. Where I think the biggest impact is going to be is with young people who were hoping to enter the profession, either as instrumentalists, as singers, as teachers. It's going to be quite a while before we get to a point where we have so many people who have backgrounds. And how do you teach in this day and age? How do we audition people to play in our symphony orchestras or sing in our choruses? 5 years from now, we'll probably see institutions on the professional level close to what they were, but perhaps with a different perspective on the repertoire. There's no question that we will continue to exist, but it will be the creative forces that were already in place before the virus, looking to find new ways to connect. Members of diverse communities will be even more welcome and perhaps being given more opportunity than they've had in the past. And that's very important. That should have happened a long time ago. Now, with social unrest, hopefully leading to a confluence of ideas, will bring us closer together. And I think to some degree, even with political turmoil going on, I think the world will become closer together in the terms of music. Understanding cultures through their music is really one way to get closer to a more peaceful planet.
Yeah, lovely. And we have another question that just came in. I think you probably just answered it, but as a leader in your field, what gives you hope? I think you've just mentioned that. We know the pandemic is unique. Yeah, but what can you point to from the past that gives you hope for what's next?
What gives me hope in particular is that segment you had earlier, watching young people making music together. There is no other profession where people get to come together from all different kinds of backgrounds for the purpose of unifying yourself in the service of great, good, and sometimes not so good music, but it's that kind of teamwork. Nobody's working as an individual here. We're working as a unit. And I still see so much enthusiasm in young people, no matter what the form, the genre. The arts are for everyone. Or as Washington-born Duke Ellington used to say, there are only two kinds of music, good music and the other stuff.
Great. Changing subject for a moment, someone's asking, what are you working on right now?
Well, I just finished writing my third book. Thank you for the question. Now it's going to go into the editing phase, and then it'll probably come out in September, I think. Fourth book is on the way. It'll be a little bit different kind of book. The third one is to address kind of 50 years of looking at the profession of classical music, seeing how it's changed for the good and sometimes not, in my opinion. I've been doing some composing as well. I continue to study. I'm no longer a music director anywhere, and that's actually for me good. My wife is a distinguished composer, Cindy McTee, so we collaborate on various projects. I've enjoyed doing score study sessions with conductors from around the world. Obviously, you can't teach conducting unless you have a group there to work with, but you can do a lot in terms of examining pieces of music and looking at them, and maybe the experience of so many years in the profession gives me a little bit of a leg up, some ideas I might had. I've also been trying to think of a way that we can encourage education on the public school level, which has been gradually deteriorating over the past 45 years. I remember when I came to Detroit as the music director, I met immediately with the director of public schools, who bragged that 30% of the students in Detroit public schools had music education in the classroom. And I immediately said, that means 70% don't. Comparing that to when I was a kid, in my high school, public high school, we had 3 choruses, 2 bands, we had an orchestra, and Peter Schickli was our composer in residence at public high school.
Wow.
Well, we have to remember how important all the arts are to a vital society. And it starts at the school level at the youngest ages. Again, it doesn't matter what kind of music we're listening to and we're studying. It's always a part of art, creating and working with the history of what great civilizations are about. And if we're to go down in the world as one of the great civilizations, we have got to imbue the spirit of the arts into the public school curriculum.
Thank you. That's such an important message. Thank you for that. We're just about out of time, but I'm going to ask you, I'm going to combine 2 quick questions into one. Is if someone has time to listen to just one track from the CD, is there a favorite part that you remember? We just heard a little bit of the ending, but is there a favorite part? And is there a particular piece of Russian music you might suggest for us?
The great moment that people in this country, at least, are going to be surprised is the one additional movement that was devoted to the American cause during the war. It was mentioned that you have 2 hymns, Rock of Ages and the other one. But the surprise was Chopin's Funeral March, taken from his second piano sonatas there. I had no idea, because apparently Kastalski researched this and discovered that the Funeral March, bam, dam, da-da, bam, ba-da, was often performed at funerals in America. I had no idea.
It was the American Extraordinary Mission to Russia that went over in 1916 to show support for the provisional government in Russia at that time. And Kastalski somehow met them, probably in Moscow or St. Petersburg, and apparently they told him this. They said, he asked them, what do people play and sing at funerals in America? And they told him they play the Funeral March from Chopin's sonata. So it's a funny juxtaposition.
Request, when my time on this planet is up, do not play the Funeral March of Chopin. I get that played usually at my birthday, which is next to 5 days from now. Don't play it. Leave it out.
Well, thank you so much. first of all, an early happy birthday to you, and thank you so much for serving as our honorary chair this evening, and for being part of this online gala, and for being part of this really exciting, important recording that comes out tomorrow. We're also grateful to you, and we were really honored to work with you on it. So
It was my distinct pleasure. I had such a great time with all of you. Hope we can do it again.
thank you so much. And I hope you'll stay with us for the remainder of the evening. We'll have a little toast at the end, so please stay with us. Thank you. And I'd also like to take this moment and this opportunity to thank current and past members of the Cathedral Choral Society staff who worked so hard to bring this recording to fruition. Christopher Eanes, Anna Lipowitz, Courtney Ruckman, Joy Schreier, Gabriela Calderon, and Morgan Callwood. I would like to thank in particular past executive directors of Cathedral Choral Society, Genevieve Toomey and Lindsay Sheridan. They believed in this project. They took it on wholeheartedly and provided the administrative leadership that really made it all possible. So thank you. I'd also like to thank Laura Brisson and Emily Buttram and the administrative staffs of all of our partner ensembles from the Kansas City Chorale, St. Tikhon Choir, and the Clarion Choir. We'd also like to say a special thanks to Susan Carmel, Kimberly Hetherington, and the Carmel Charitable Trust for their very generous support of this recording, and to all of the board members and supporters of Cathedral Choral Society and of our partners ensembles. Without all of your generosity, this project and this recording would simply not have been possible. So thank you. Most of all, congratulations and thanks to all my fellow performers on this recording, beginning with my fellow chorus masters, Charles Bruffy, music director of the Kansas City Chorale, and Benedict Sheehan, the music director of St. Tikhon Choir. Our amazing soloists, Anna Dennis and Joseph Boutel, and all of the wonderful choral singers and orchestral players that brought this music to life from the manuscripts and onto this recording. I'd also like to thank our amazing producers and sound engineers, Blanton Allspaw, John Newton, and the whole Sound Mirror team. They are truly the best in the business. It is not easy to record in Washington National Cathedral, but they made it look and sound easy. So thank you to everyone who made this recording possible. And tomorrow when it comes out, we will celebrate. We'll celebrate tonight. I turn it over to Chris and Gabriella.
Such an amazing project. And, Gabriella, you and I came to CCS after the project was completed, but it's been so exciting to sort of see the entire thing happen. I wish I'd been there to experience the live performance. But I've bought my copy. I can't wait to get it in the mail. Gabriella, did you buy yours yet?
Wait, you mean I don't get one for free?
All right, let's do this. How about if that thermometer goes over $40,000, you'll get a free one.
Okay, it's on. We can do that.
All right, everyone, we're going to help Gabby get a free CD tonight. Text CCS Gala to 91999 with the amount and your name. Gabriella, what's the update?
So it seems that free CD is coming my way. Currently, we are at $39,094. And if you haven't seen it already, check out the auction items that we still have up and running, including a portrait for you, loved one, family, maybe family dog, who knows, painted by the very talented Mark Jaimo. I would also like to take a moment to clarify, and this is an error on my end, that whoever the runner-up is on the current bidding war happening for the Lakeside Retreat will actually be the one to receive the offer for the second weekend. I will reach out to the runner-up via email.
Okay, so one winner and one runner-up, and they both, but they don't have to go at the same time, right?
That is correct.
Okay, good. That would be awkward. So in a normal year, we would have long ago released our season and be well on our way to beginning rehearsals for our next big project. This, of course, is anything but a normal year. We won't be presenting music in the National Cathedral this year. It's sad news for all of us, but it has given us the time to consider new ways of reaching people through music. We're excited about presenting a digital season. We'll be posting unique content every single month, completely free of charge. And it won't just be concerts. We'll be doing live workshops, interviews, and a whole lot more. In a time of uncertainty, one thing you can count on is something new from us the first Thursday of every month. And we especially want to highlight our programs for November and December, In November, we're going to offer you a tribute to Beethoven in celebration of his 250th birthday. And in December, you're going to enjoy a somewhat reimagined Joy of Christmas. And then, very excited about this, in early 2021, we're extremely excited to be collaborating with the incredible Heritage Signature Chorale under the direction of Stanley Thurston for a significant collaboration. One of the true gems of the Washington, D.C. choral ecosystem, the Heritage Signature Chorale. There are a lot of ways to enjoy this content. I'm going to turn things over right now to my colleague, Courtney Ruckman, to tell you more.
Thank you, Chris. And to our friends here, hello. My name is Courtney Ruckman. I'm the Cathedral Choral Society's marketing coordinator. We are so excited to have you here with us tonight to launch our newest album and kick off a brand new initiative, CCS Presents. The CCS Presents program offers monthly releases of beloved and new video content directly to your inbox or favorite social media platform. You can also look forward to workshops, blogs, and interviews leading up to each new release. Though the world has changed in an inconceivable way, the Cathedral Choral Society remains steadfast in our mission to engage people with the extraordinary power of choral music. To enjoy CCS Presents, follow us on our Facebook and YouTube pages, or sign up for our email list to enjoy a first peek at every new release. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm looking forward to sharing this new program with you.
Thank you, Courtney. So stay tuned to your email and social media for our full season announcement, which, as will be our custom this year, will come on the first Thursday in September, which is just a week from today. All right, Gabriella, did you get your CD? I think we had $6 to go or something.
We are very close. We're at 39,893, and that number keeps rising. So I'm pretty sure I'm getting it, Chris.
Somebody donate $7. Did I do that math right? I wasn't paying attention.
You did not.
All right. Well, we're close. That's what I know. All right. That sounds great. You know, we couldn't have done this and gone this far without all the people that helped on this project. I really would like to thank Sarah Holmes and the whole board development committee. And in fact, the whole board of trustees who's been so supportive of us as we learn a whole bunch of new skills. Casey Cook, who's behind the scenes tonight, has joined us just for this occasion from our national advocacy organization, Chorus America, actually right down the street from us. And Morgan Callwood and Alyssa Lisbon for the pre-roll video. And if you missed it, if you showed up after 5:50, we're going to run it again at the end of this. It's a tour of the cathedral, and you'll really enjoy it. Anna Lipowitz, Courtney Ruckman, Joy Schreier, Colleen Daly, Gabriella, thank you guys all so much. All right, now, Gabriella, is it time?
It is time, Chris. It's time to announce the winners of our raffles tonight. So now, let's go ahead and get started with the 5 winners of our CD signed by Maestro Slatkin and Stephen Fox. And these are Wendy Lubarski, Jim Mixter, Margot Young, Ernie Abbott, and Yerilyn Watson. And the winner of the Alto basket, worth about $300, is Zell Shakarian Tursa.
All right. Congratulations, everybody. Now, as we wrap up, I want to offer you a special surprise. Instead of the usual thank you letter and tax receipt, which you will get anyway, we've done something a little wacky, which is we've commissioned a work of thanks. This work from composer Jonathan Woody is for you, all those who have supported us and continue to do so that we can bring the power of music to all.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Woody, bass baritone and composer, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to greet you today. The Cathedral Choral Society has been a part of my musical life for over a decade, first singing as a chorister with Maestro Riley Lewis, and then as a soloist with Maestro Stephen Fox last October. COVID-19 has changed all of our lives, and for performing musicians, that has meant a major change, and so I am honored that I can still be a part of music making with you, this time as a composer. Maestro Fox approached me a few months ago and asked me if I would write a piece for CCS, and I was thrilled to do so. The idea of the piece comes from the sense of gratitude that we artists all have for the patrons who make our work possible. And the text, in fact, comes from expressions of gratitude that both patrons and audience members have shared with Cathedral Choral Society over the years. It's a gift to be able to show my appreciation in this way, and I hope you enjoy the piece as a way of saying thank you for years of supporting me as an artist and all the other wonderful musicians that have worked with Cathedral Choral Society. Thanks again.
Fantastic. Thank all of you. All right, Gabriella, what's our final status update?
Our final status update says that we are at $40,167. Seems like I am getting my free CD after all. Thank you so much to everyone that donated. And don't forget, our auction closes in a few minutes at 7:30, so you have 15 minutes to go. And our giving portal will be open until midnight tonight.
That's absolutely amazing. All right. I want to thank everybody so very much. If you tuned in, again, a few minutes later, didn't come early to enjoy our video tour of the cathedral by Morgan and Alyssa, we're going to roll it right at the end. And I recommend you pour another glass and enjoy that a few more minutes of entertainment. And on behalf of all of us, we offer you a sincere and heartfelt thanks for all of your support during this really difficult time. Thank you. Stephen.
Let us please raise a glass together to celebrate choral music and Cathedral Choral Society's first recording in a very long time. Please do pre-order your album. It's important to us to have a good first week of opening sales, if you've not done so already. And thank you all so much for your support this evening. It means a lot to us. So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Callwood. I'm the operations coordinator for the Cathedral Choral Society, and I'm here today to take you on a fun, super awesome, engaging, and super secret behind the scenes tour of Washington National Cathedral. All right, let's get started. So welcome to Washington National Cathedral, the 6th largest cathedral in the world. It was started in 1907 and finished in 1990. Right now we're standing in the nave. One of the reasons they say it's called the nave is because it's shaped like an upside down ship. So fun fact, if you were to lay down the Washington Monument all the way down the nave, it would actually only stick out the front door by about 20 feet. Another fun fact is that there are 215 stained glass windows in the cathedral, and we're coming up on what I think is probably the coolest stained glass window. It's this one. So it's called the NASA Space Window, and you'll see why. It commemorates the Apollo 11 space mission where the US astronauts walked on the moon, and when they came back down, they brought a piece of space rock and donated it to the National Cathedral, which I don't know if you can see it, it's almost the top panel right in the middle. There's a piece of space rock. And this is Woodrow Wilson's grave. So on Monday nights from 7:30 to 10 is when CCS rehearses, and it's the job of the operations coordinator, that's me, to clean up after the choir's done. So basically at 10:30, the cathedral's empty except for me, and there's also a security guard, but he's like outside and I don't really see him. So it's basically me, the ghost of Woodrow Wilson, and God. And so if you look that way, usually the doors to the front, the wooden doors are open and it's just the glass, so you can completely see outside. So my thing's always like, if the zombie apocalypse were to happen right now, and I just turned and I saw that, and like, what if the zombies came and started banging on the door? Or even worse, what if humans that were being chased by zombies came and started banging on the door, begging me to let them in? It would be over for me. That's actually a topic of conversation we have a lot with staff, is that this would actually be a really good place to bunker. But alone, it's just, it doesn't seem feasible to me. So I've stopped in the military chapel, which was created to commemorate the US troops, which is fitting because, as you might know, CCS is dropping an album of Kastalski's Requiem.
Kastalski Requiem for Fallen Brothers, scheduled for release on August 28th, 2020. Available for physical purchase on Amazon Music and Archive Music. Available digitally on Spotify and Apple Music. Having listened to it myself, I can say it does slap.
And Kastalski wrote that Requiem to commemorate the troops of World War I. So this is the Great Choir, and this is where CCS sometimes gathers to warm up, sometimes puts down their stuff, sometimes walks through to get on stage. But I wanted to point out the super awesome organ. It has about 10,000 pipes. It's giant. So it is true that the floors are heated during the winter. I can't confirm nor deny that I know that from personal experience. I also won't say I haven't walked around barefoot at 11 p.m., but I won't say that I have either. So this is the North Rose window up here. This is what CCS's logo is based off of. And then if we scoot around here, we can see the door of the Slipe. We're not gonna go in there right now, but the Slipe is where we house guest artists and soloists during our performances, and it's also where Stephen Fox, our artistic director, hangs out when he's not conducting. This is Perry Auditorium. This is where we have a lot of our Monday night rehearsals. So now we're in the bell tower, and this is the carillon. A carillon is just a set of bells, basically. There are 53 bells in this carillon, and it's the third heaviest one in the world. This is the carillon you hear playing when you come into our Joy of Christmas concerts. Our good friend Ed Nasser plays them, and that's Ed Nasser's gnome. So here's the view we have from the 7th floor. We can see the Capitol building over there on the left. Washington Monument, Kensen, miss her. Over there somewhere is Georgetown, play a saxo or whatever. So the first place I want to show you guys, I call it the acoustics room. It's actually the visitors lounge because the store is right around the corner, but I call it the acoustics room because it has the best acoustics. So I would recommend, if you're walking through, I would sing a little something. Not too loud though, because the next room is a quiet room. This is probably my favorite chapel. It's called Resurrection Chapel. And it's my favorite because, as you can see, we have Black Jesus. So now we're in Bethlehem Chapel. This is where CCS warms up, leaves their stuff, hangs out before and after concerts. Actually, the foundation stone of the cathedral was laid right there under the altar. This is our vocal score library. It's where we keep all of our vocal scores. Excuse the mess, we're kind of going through a little organization period right now. I'm going through it, it's me. So here we are in CCS's office in all its glory. I wish I had more to say about this space. Here's my meme wall. Here's the possum side of my meme wall. There's some raccoons too. Honestly, if you're to give to CCS for no other reason, please do it so I can have just a smidgen, just an ounce of natural light. We do have a ghost. Her name is Catherine. thanks so much for coming on this journey with us. I hope it was as fun for you to watch as it was for us to create. There's so much about the Cathedral I didn't tell you guys, so make sure to check out their website, cathedral.org, if you want to see more about them. Check out CCS's website if you want to hear more about us. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Hope to see you once outside is open again.